Howdy, and welcome to the F1 Hatchet. Welcome to the 2024 season for Formula One, as it is begun by revealing all of the liveries from every team. We have actually had this reveal from across the last couple of weeks, and I decided to rank those liveries in my viewpoint, and I stress my viewpoint. I'm sure your viewpoint is different than mine, and you can leave what you think I got wrong or missed out in the comments, or give me your top 10 list in the comments on how they rank against each other. Now I'll go through from worst to last. So I'll start off with what I think is the worst chassis design on their color schemes and just logo designs, and get to the one I like the best. And without further ado, we will see here that it is the Steak F1 livery. Now, I really like the fluorescent green that they introduced with the Steak Kick F1 Sauber vehicle, however you want to call that. I do really like that. It kind of stands out, it shines. I think they just kind of almost overdid the green, where they should have had it more kind of as a highlighted tone color or two-toned aspect of it, so that it's not just in your face. But some people, I'm sure, would like that in your face. And you can see here from the front of the vehicle, it is a lot of green with more of the black highlights instead of the other direction. Now we get a slightly different view when we see the side of it. And you see the more the, what I would like to see is kind of like the highlights. I just don't like this kind of zigzag pattern that they have on the side of their side pod with this green. I think it should be more flowing, more kind of on the lines of the curves and sensation to kind of make those stand out a little bit better. And that's one of the reasons I ranked it down at the bottom. Now here's the side view, full side, and it's when they reveal, it was nice and foggy, and so it makes it hard to see all the details of the actual chassis itself. But I know these are just pretty much the public viewing, so I'm sure we'll see a little bit more detail when they get set on track and testing this next week. But I mean, I like the lines of the green, and I like that it's kind of come out. I just don't like the big zigzag across the side of the side, where it kind of just doesn't really match anything else, I think. And so it doesn't really fit the streamlined version of trying to point out more of the Formula One car than the actual, just the weird design patterns that they just throw up there. And so I ranked, the Steak F1 probably my last, even though it was hard to really gauge some of these cars at the end. So, and you might be surprised that I went with the RB Visa Cash, app one next in my 9th position. I really, really like this shade of blue that they chose, and with the white, it really stands out, and I think that's really great. I kind of messed up on that big white two-door stripe across that front, right in front of the chassis driver's spot. I think that really kind of throws things together a little bit odd, makes it look too busy, and kind of messes things up a little bit for me. I think that if they would have actually, like on the side view, if they made that stripe kind of follow the side pod curvature, where that air intake comes down where that Visa is, it would have been a lot better, instead of this slightly odd angle that it comes down in, not matching quite up, and just kind of its own line for that Hugo white stripe area. I do like it, surrounded by that red pinstripe almost look, and I definitely like the Honda white stripe at the back with the blue surrounding it. That is really nice to me. So the back half of this car I really love, the front half not so much. So in that regard, it just didn't sit well with me. I know a lot of people like this car, and I do definitely like the throwback to the Toro Rosso blue, red, white color scheme, and I think that looks nice, as I said, on the back half of this car, but not necessarily the front half. This view doesn't look quite as bad because you don't get that white interfering. So if they had kept that white stripe out of the front half of this car, I think it would have looked a lot better. As you can barely see that white stripe from this weird angle that they have where it covers up from the wheel covers. That main spot that I was complaining about. So this view, I think, looks fairly good in this chassis, but not as overall. I think it just, as I said, it looks kind of busy, looks kind of out of place with that front stripe in there. Next, we probably have the main team of Red Bull. And you might be kind of surprised that I threw this far back in the pack. And I mainly did this because, I don't know, it just looks dull to me. I mean, I know a lot of people, and it's a classic view. It's been there for ages. So a lot of people really like that. You know, it doesn't change a lot. I think it would have done better with a kind of a two-tone effect or some other kind of effect on this chassis. It's kind of hard to do when you really stand out with just the main part of the Red Bull is that logo with the Red Bulls on that yellow sun. And so that kind of really interferes with you doing a lot of other things with it, with the sponsorship bits. And I know there's some, red pinstripes and stuff, which does help, but just that solid blue, that dark blue with the black kind of blends in together. And so it just kind of makes it dull to me. It doesn't quite have the pop that I would kind of like to see out of the Red Bull team, even though you see that the main logo on the very front and the air intake behind the driver's head, which really stands out, and that's really good. It's just been there for long. And I think we've gotten used to it, and maybe that's my bias coming out because I've seen it so much this last several years, especially last year with it being up front most of the season. It kind of grazed me, I guess, in the sense having that bland, same color kind of concept throughout this chassis. It does look good and does look clean. I like that clean look generally. I just think that could have used a little bit more pop in this color scheme livery. They added a little bit of yellow striping or something else would have made it kind of stand out a little bit more. So next we have Williams. And Williams went back to their kind of blue with the red and white pinstripes going across. Again, this is it's a clean look, but it doesn't quite have the pop. And especially when they're trying to introduce the two shades of blue, it's harder to gauge that. And I think that if they had done that more along with the aerodynamic vision of how that chassis is put together, I think it would have looked better than just having those, line distinct cuts between those two blues. Even though it's not that big of a shade of blue difference, I think it just kind of blends together to some degree and just makes you look like more of a blue with a slight red pinstripe. I do like the red and white pinstripes in the front. That's great. I wish they would have carried that more in the back to kind of give you that old car, vision back to that Williams. But again, it's a nice clean car, nice blue. So it's not a bad car. It's just, as I said, didn't have that quite the pop that I was kind of looking for. So we come to Haas. Haas kind of shaded from that red back to over to that black and white. And I really like the side of this car. And maybe it should have been farther down on the list because of the red wings kind of stand out and kind of in your face. I wish they would have done something more with the different levels on the wings. So if you see here, the front wing is pretty much red and the back wing is pretty much red. And if they would have kind of like had red and white or maybe a black winglet and there's something into that, it would have looked better, I think, because the front view is very much power red with the white cockpit kind of surrounded by that black, whereas on the side you get more of the black and white feel. So I like the way that the white stripe goes down with the Haas on this, the air flow on the side pod, but that red kind of seems to be out of place almost. It's like, we got to throw red on here, so we'll just throw it on the wings and not really integrate it into the chassis vision. So that's kind of why I have it, my dislike about it. Maybe it should be down farther on the list because of that. But I do like the side of that view. And so that's kind of why I ranked it up to this level. Now we have McLaren. I know a lot of people don't like McLaren in that vision. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the papaya orange. Where I come from, orange is not the greatest color. We'd rather have other colors involved, even though papaya is better than the burnt orange, that area from where I'm kind of centralized here. And so that kind of turns me off a little bit, even though the papaya does stand out really nicely. And it kind of gives you that full vision of the vehicle here, and it makes it nice where the kind of the highlights on the side pods with the main front, being papaya color, and that kind of the black and white, the black and orange setting that they've kind of gone with this dark mode from last year. With that big black stripe, I kind of wish it would have been more of the in line with the aerodynamic look, maybe even if it was a counterintuitive from that, going the opposite direction. I think it would have looked better than just kind of having a direct black stripe across of it, but it still looks like a nice, clean, distinctive chassis that I kind of really like to see that, the papaya in that, since they've kind of gone whole hog into the papaya color theme. And so that kind of makes that really their own vehicle. So that's why I ranked it up a little bit higher than the rest of these. You may feel differently about that. And so you can definitely have your opinion and make that known to me if you feel the need. Now, the side view, as I said, I like that dark color. I like the darker mode that they kind of gone with this year. And so that's going to rank them up a little bit higher, I guess, maybe from last year, that dark mode look. Now we come to Alpine, and I really like the pink shades that they've done with the blue. I think that really looks really nice. I don't know, it's probably just me, but I think that really stands out and makes it look really pop, and it looks kind of that flow really looks. When they did the version with the slightly lighter blues, I didn't like as much, but with the pink version, I really stood out and made it look really nice to me. It kind of made it its own car instead of having all the same kind of shades of blue or red that a lot of the other teams have incorporated over the past year. So this kind of really stands out with that pink, and it's not just, bright in your face. It has that highlighted elegance to it, I guess, is what I would say, because it kind of blends in more, makes it more pop with that black and darker shades in there mixed. So I said I really like that. Now this is the view with the lighter blue in the front. I'm not as keen on that, even though it doesn't look bad. I just like the way the pink pops a little bit more than the lighter blue colors in the front. So, I probably ranked the pink one over the blue one, and that's kind of where I kind of ended up on this scale, is because of that pink version of this car, not necessarily the blue version. So, take it for what you will. That's kind of where I ended up with the Alpine. Now we have the Aston Martin, and the Aston Martin's classic, green with that yellow stripe at the bottom. I think it's really nice, even though it's maybe used a little more, tone color between the black and the green, as that kind of can blend together. I don't know if in the sunlight, it probably looks a lot better than this. Of course, we'll have to wait to see how that really shines, even though this looks fairly similar to last year's vision of their livery. So it's nice, clean cut, nice green, with a nice yellow striping. I think it looks really nice in this regard, and it's not quite as in your face, but it is that classic look, and that's why I rated it up here. And that's maybe why you think that I should rate the Red Bulls and the other ones higher, but I think this has a better look than those. So again, just my opinion overall. The top view, as you can see, they used a lot of carbon fiber black, but I still think that looks really good with, that main part in that Aston Martin green, kind of showing that aero look as the rest of the car, and that black kind of fades out. So really nice, clean cut. Then I have Mercedes with its two-tone, well, kind of two-tone separated by that nice aqua blue line that's kind of covering the edges of it. Makes it a nice looking livery. As you can see here, it's hard to see in some of the light, but the sides of it are black with the silver. I was kind of wondering where Mercedes was going to end up, if they were going to go back to their silver arrows or stick with the black, Mercedes that they've had in the past. And they kind of did both here, which is kind of nice to see, is having the silver top with the black sides. And they did that blend nice with that aqua stripe along the side. And of course you have the, Mercedes pyramid symbol on the side, kind of fading like they've done in the past. The little diamond, I don't know what you call it, caltrop logo there on that, coming back into that back fin, fading out to the back, which is classic Mercedes look. But again, it's a nice, cut between the sides and the top with that two-tone distinctive look. Makes it really, that aqua kind of makes it kind of pop with that between the silver and the black, in my view. So a very nice car for Mercedes. And this, of course, leaves us with the Ferrari. Now, I'm not a big Ferrari fan on their past liveries, but I think this one really stands out. As I said, I wish some of the other cars would have done this on the wings, that they had that two-tone wing, or that one wing part of it is one color with the black or a different shade of their color. On the other ones, I would have, I think, shown a little bit better and make it really stand out more, like the Ferraris did here, with that red line there in the back and in the front, kind of standing out in contrast to that black chassis that most people have kind of incorporated. And here you can see that carbon fiber along those down air vents towards the back, trying to sculpt that air around the exhaust. But I think that gives me that nice look. And with the yellow and white stripes, it adds to that shaping and elegant look of what you kind of think of the air, and going across that chassis would kind of flow in to some degree, even though it's not quite that same pattern. And then, of course, the red wing with the black Ferrari top of that kind of makes that stand out more than some of the other teams. And so that basically wraps up the top 10 teams that I, in that order here. And so just a reminder, so I had Ferrari as the top livery, followed by Mercedes, then Aston, then Alpine with that pink, and McLaren, Haas, Williams, Red Bull, RB, and then Stake F1 rounding up the bottom, even though I really like that fluorescent green, as it stands out a lot from the rest of the teams on that Stake F1 car. Now, what is to follow is, of course, pre-season testing on February 21st through the 22nd. So that's coming up really quick here, and that's in Dakar. And, of course, that's on that track that's, 3.363 miles, and with a record, lap record of 1 minute, 31 seconds, with Pedro de la Rosa in 2005. And, of course, this circuit was introduced in 2004. Hopefully, I will have a preseason prediction up next weekend before the actual race, so that I can kind of gauge on how the testing season goes, even though we don't really get a good insight on their actual performance. We can kind of shake out what we kind of like and dislike about each team, and kind of where they think they've made improvements or not against the other teams in this preseason. So I'll try to do my preseason ranking on, after those results have kind of come in and kind of given me a better idea hopefully of where they're going to shake out this season. I didn't do very good last season, and I probably won't do very good in this season on that preseason ranking of all the teams and drivers. And that's really hard to do as well. So if you haven't done that, I suggest you give that a try, as that makes it interesting to see how bad or good you are on predicting the end results at the beginning of the season. So until then, farewell and see you on the grid.